Think of the color white. What do we say when we say white? We say peace, we say purity, we say openness, and we say power. And what do we say when we say black? We say, and I utter this with anger, we say night, we say fear, we say confusion, we say threat, and we say also lack of self-esteem. Black is as equal a color as white or blue or red, but socially we have constructed this sense that black is the color of fear and white is the color of power. And in many ways, as we journey from one point of society to another, we can say that we can go from one color to the other. Often in the black community, somebody who is making a transition to the middle class or who is journeying even beyond can be described as whitening that path. When and to what extent will we be able to destroy, to debunk, to get rid of these social connotations of color? It seems to me, and I talk about this with most of my students, that every society, in order to function, needs stereotypes. This idea that we could live in a society without stereotypes is utopian. In utopia, the word in Greek means there is no such place. Because we're different, because we are unique, each of us, we have to create a self-image of who we are, and in doing so, we establish patterns between us and between the other. And those patterns have to do with feeling different and feeling unique. That uniqueness in a society that is multicultural and multi-ethnic often has to do with the construction of color. Let me push the metaphor from, or the kaleidoscope from a different perspective. About 5 or 6 years ago, there was a book published with the title, How the Irish Became White. Now, the title itself seems redundant. The Irish, it strikes me, have always been white. How did the Irish, coming from the potato famine, arriving poor and living in miserable conditions, in particularly New York City or New England, Boston, journeyed from the margins of society to power, to having senators, presidents, lawyers, doctors. The journey had to do with making partnerships that allowed them to become white. For in America, the color of whiteness is the color of power, according to that book. How did the Jews become white? Well, if you turn around today in the United States, you would think that Jews have always been white. White, by this I mean Caucasian. But there's a big discussion among biblical scholars in regards to the color that Jesus Christ was. Was he a black individual? Was he what we would call a brown individual? Or was he white? The people in the desert, the people that had gone 40 years, another metaphor in terms of number, through the desert in order to make it to Canaan, had clearly darker colored skin. Depicting today a darker colored Jesus might be potentially explosive. We will associate the color of his skin with a particular message that he will convey. But it's not only that the Jews are Caucasian, that is white, but it's also that the Jews had made an equal transition from the margins of society to center stage, meaning that they have gone from whatever color they came from to the color of power. Well, the word is astonishing. To think that in spite of the advances that we have with the media, you enter any bar, any restaurant, any gym, and the television is there shooting at you incredibly detailed images from all over the world, incredibly colored images from all over the world, it seems to me that in many ways the United States continues to exist in black and white. And now I don't talk about what transpires in the media itself, but what transpires in our view of the world. Today's New York Times, front page of the art section, a discussion about dream girls, a discussion about the pursuit of happiness, the movies that are being done by African American actors, and how pushing those movies into an international market is the equivalent of bringing them to the South in the 60s.